Well, howdy partners, we got some breaking news within the past couple hours. Holy smokers, this ain't no joker. Qualcomm stock is absolutely going insane, up 23% here today, and almost all those gains came in the past hour of trading. It's up another 5.5% after hours. This is an unbelievable, unprecedented move for Qualcomm stock, guys. We're going to talk about that one, and then Netflix stock is hardly moving after hours. They just came out with their earnings, and I want to basically tell you guys what they reported for earnings, and then we're going to get into why the stock is not moving, which is baffling people, because Netflix stock usually moves huge on earnings, and to have the stock not moving at all, people are like, what is going on? What is going on? Okay. First off, in regards to Qualcomm, some massive Goliath news came out right before the market closed here today. Okay. Apple and Qualcomm have settled their royalty dispute, the companies announced in a press release. The settlement includes a payment from Apple to Qualcomm as well as a chipset supply agreement suggesting that Apple will buy Qualcomm chips for future iPhones. The companies did not say how much the payment will be. Qualcomm stock obviously rose more than 20%, boosting its market cap around $15 billion. Okay, it's the biggest day for Qualcomm since 1999, back in the tech bubble days. Okay, now Apple didn't move much on this news. However, Intel, which is a Qualcomm competitor, did fall on the day. Okay, this is massive news for Qualcomm, guys. This came out of nowhere. A lot of people were not expecting this, and especially on this scale. There are three huge reasons why this is massive news for Qualcomm for a good thing. Okay, number one, this is the massive legal costs basically end for Qualcomm. Qualcomm was having to spend ridiculous amounts of resources, money, okay, to kind of like file all these lawsuits, and they're suing each other back and forth. This basically ends for Qualcomm now. They were spending hundreds of millions of dollars on legal costs. Never mind that, the management's attention, a lot of the executive team was on all this whole situation with them going back and forth in the courts with Apple. That ends today. This is just great news for Qualcomm right there. Reason number two is no payments had to be made from Qualcomm to Apple. Actually, it's vice versa. Apple's actually going to make a payment, we don't know how big, to Qualcomm. It could be a few hundred million, could be a few billion dollars. We don't know what the payment is there from Apple to Qualcomm, but needless to say, Apple's paying Qualcomm and not vice versa, because if it was a vice versa situation, Qualcomm had to pay Apple, that could have gotten really ugly. So that is great news for Qualcomm. And the third reason is by far the biggest reason of all these, okay? They're getting Apple back as a customer again. This is as big of news as you can possibly have as a semiconductor company. If you're talking about you're a big player in the smartphone space and tablets, and you sell electronics into all these players, and let's say Apple's not the company you can do business with, you're just missing a massive amount of the market, okay? Apple's a company that sells a couple 100 million iPhones per year, and in those iPhones, they usually use the highest of the highest end chips, meaning that you can usually charge very high dollar amounts to Apple. So if you lose out on Apple as being one of your customers, and you're a big player like Qualcomm is in mobile phones and just mobile devices in general, you're just losing out on a huge opportunity there. So that is great news for Qualcomm now that they can be back in one of the biggest electronics makers literally in the entire world. And this makes me think maybe there was something there that Qualcomm had specifically around 5G, and maybe Intel just couldn't get it done, and Apple was like, dude, we're screwed in this situation. We have to hit 5G. Apple's expected to come out with a 5G iPhone in fall of 2020, and if they miss that and they have to push back another year, they're going to miss out on a ton of sales there. You could even have customers switching over to Android, because I can guarantee you a massive amount of Android phones will actually be 5G over the next 12 months. And if Apple's doesn't hit the market for 2 years after that, that could get really ugly for Apple. So in my opinion, Qualcomm ended up being in a position of strength here, probably because Intel just probably failed with 5G. My beliefs, I have no proof to back that up. That's just what I'm reading through the tea tree leaf, because if it was one of those things, if Apple was in a position where Intel was looking great for 5G and the next 5G phones and whatnot, I'm thinking Apple wouldn't have been as desperate to make this move, because it definitely looks like Apple's more desperate than Qualcomm in this particular situation. So we'll see what happens there, but needless to say, like a smash home run, for Qualcomm there. Great news, okay? Now let's talk about the really big news, which is Netflix and Netflix stock. So Netflix earnings came out here after the bell. Netflix posted its first quarter earnings on Tuesday and beat Wall Street estimates and company guidance for revenue, earnings per share, and global paid net subscriber additions during the period, but it also turned in weaker than expected guidance for subscriber growth in the second quarter. Netflix added 9.6 million paid subscribers globally, its biggest quarterly haul ever, bringing it to nearly 149 million members worldwide. In the second quarter, it said it expects to add 5 million paid subscribers, about 1 million less than Wall Street estimated. So right off the bat there, that's obviously a very negative number there. You go from 9.5 to maybe only we hit 5, but it could be Netflix maybe sandbagging numbers. So then they come out next quarter and they do hit 6 million or maybe even 7 million. And it's like, whoa, we blew numbers away and whatnot. It could be Netflix sandbagging them there. But needless to say, like regardless, it seems like it will be not as good of a quarter this upcoming quarter as it was this past quarter, okay? In terms of all the numbers here, Q1 revenue came in at $4.52 billion versus Wall Street estimates of 4.51. So a very, very slight beat there, okay? Netflix had forecasted 4.49, so very, very slight beat on revenue. Q1 earnings per share on a GAAP basis came in at 76 cents versus Wall Street estimates of 58 cents, and Netflix was expecting about 56. So nice beat there on the GAAP earnings per share. Q1 total paid subscriber growth, paid net additions came in at 9.6 million versus Wall Street was expecting about 8.94. Netflix was expecting about 8.9, so a very nice beat by Netflix there. 1.74 million new subscribers in the US versus Wall Street was expecting 1.6. 7.86 million new subscribers internationally. That's a huge number there. Netflix was expecting about 7.3, Wall Street as well. However, the upcoming quarters where the numbers were a bit weak, okay? So 5 million was expected when Wall Street was expecting over 6 million net ads for this next upcoming quarter, okay? 300,000 expected in the US by Netflix. Wall Street was expecting over 600,000 new ads. 4.7 million internationally. Wall Street was expecting about 5.4. So needless to say, at least on the good front, Netflix beat revenue, they beat EPS, and they beat this past quarter's subscriber additions. But next quarter, they're expected to come way under what Wall Street was expected. But once again, let's go back to the stock price here. It is hardly moving after hours. We're looking at a stock price here that is down 0.8%, and this is mind blowing. People are like, why is this stock hardly moving? This is Netflix stock. They just reported earnings. This stock should be moving huge. A lot of folks that were playing options were expecting the stock to move at least 7-8% on this earnings, and then we have a move of less than 1%, and people are like blown away. Let's get into that now. So here's why Netflix stock is hardly moving here after the bell. The fact is, if you're looking at the bearish case around Netflix and you're looking at the bullish case, we're going to see something here, okay? The bearish case, there are basically two reasons why you'd be very, very bearish on Netflix stock. There are two fundamental reasons, and everything else is just little stuff, okay? One is the competition is coming for Netflix, okay? But it hasn't come yet, okay? Disney and Apple have announced their streaming services, but those don't actually hit the market until the fall time. Meaning, basically, if you're looking at it from a competitive standpoint on a negative front around Netflix, obviously, you're looking at this and you're like, well, no one's canceling their Netflix yet, okay, to go and sign up for Apple or to go sign up for Disney Plus or anything like that, because they're literally not even available. So if somebody's enjoying Netflix, they're not going to cancel right now. If anything, they might cancel down the road and they might say, hey, let me try this Apple service. Hey, let me try the Disney service, okay? But that's not going to be till at least a fall time, if not winter time, okay? So that's still a long time away. And then also the bearish cases around this company being overvalued, which, why did I spell overvalued with a U? It should be with an O there. That's a typical Jeremy thing there, okay? But needless to say, if the company was overvalued yesterday and you feel like that, today you still feel the same way. Nothing has changed, based upon these earnings if you're on the bearish side about feeling that the company is overvalued. If you look at the trailing PE, if you look at the forward PE on this company, and then you look at the competition coming, most folks are going to feel on the bearish side, everything is still the same essentially. But on the bullish case, okay, a lot of people that are still bullish on Netflix are going to say competition is not going to have a negative effect on Netflix. People are still going to stay signed up for Netflix. Though Apple coming in the game, Disney, they're not going to have much of a negative effect on Netflix at all. People aren't going to cancel, and Netflix is going to keep growing, and they're going to say, hey, the growth beast is going to continue. Well, here's the problem if you're on the bullish side, and why you can't be super bullish and why you don't see the stock up 10 or 12% after hours is, the past quarter were phenomenal numbers. Those were really, really strong numbers. They beat across the board. But the next quarter, Netflix is obviously not expecting nearly as much. 5 million new subscriptions versus 6+ million was expected by Wall Street. That's a 20+% difference there. That's a massive difference. So if you're on the bullish side, there's nothing that came out in these earnings that you can say, oh my gosh, this is great, because the competition still doesn't come. So you're not 100% sure yet if Netflix is not going to lose some customers to these other services. And then the growth piece in the past quarter was true. The next quarter is not looking so good. And that, in my opinion, is why the stock is not moving after hours. I was thinking about possibly playing it for, an options play, and I decided no. I knew the earnings were coming out today. I was like, maybe I'll play it as an options play. Maybe the stock will move huge. And then the more I got to think about it, the more I was just like, there's nothing here on the bearish side or bullish side that's really going to make the stock move massively after hours or tomorrow or whatever, just for the mere fact that we're still going to see what happens with this competition game, okay? That has not come yet. That is not. Now, if Netflix is reporting great numbers all throughout next year, then the bulls are going to get really excited, okay? But if next year we start seeing some weakness because of the new Apple service and Disney service and other competitors come in, then all of a sudden the bear case is going to start getting roared up. But we kind of got to wait, at least a few more quarters before we'll start to see any numbers really be affected, from the bearish side on any of these competitive services, because they just haven't even come out yet. They've just been announced, but they haven't actually been in the market yet. That's still, 6+ months away. So anyways, let me know your opinion on Qualcomm or Netflix in that comment section. I want to hear your guys' opinion on those stocks. Thank you for watching and have a great day.